2, 3, 4.
Hello and welcome to the NESN Soccer Podcast. I'm Mark along with Marcus and Nicholas Goss here for part 2 of our preview, groups E through H of the 2018 World Cup in Russia. Guys, thanks for joining me.
Appreciate it, Mark.
Yeah, always good to be back here.
You're welcome.
Last week we did groups A through D, and we are doing the second half of, I guess, the alphabetical order of the tournament. If you're just following us on YouTube, or if you found us on YouTube, be sure to follow us on iTunes by searching NESN. That's where you can find all of our podcasts, where we will be up to date on everything going on in Russia 2018. But Group E features Brazil, and they're joined by Switzerland, Costa Rica, and Serbia. So obviously, Brazil is the favorite here. Costa Rica, though, ended up making it to the quarterfinals of the 2014 World Cup. People are just sort of wondering, does Costa Rica have another run like that in them? Are they that caliber again? And will they get sort of the draw that they're looking for again if they can advance? What do you guys think? What sticks out most about Group E to you?
For me, it's Brazil, obviously. I think they're back to being one of the top contenders for the World Cup again. They had a very disappointing result on home soil. They look really good right now. I mean, is Neymar going to be fully healthy for this World Cup? Is he going to be in form just coming back, recovering from a foot injury? For me, I think Serbia and Switzerland are quality teams. So I think Brazil, for me, wins the group fairly easily, but I think the race for second will be pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Brazil in a cakewalk over everybody. Did I say Brazil? Über alles? That's German. Brazil over everybody.
Yeah.
Switzerland, I don't think much of them.
They're number 6 in the FIFA World Rankings. That's interesting. I would not have guessed that.
Switzerland is number 6? When did that happen?
What goes into the FIFA World
Washington
Rankings
Post
exactly?
Washington Post's preview, it says they're number 6 in the FIFA rankings.
Well,
Haven't made the quarterfinals since 1954.
I am going to believe my lying eyes. I saw them play for, Spain last weekend, or maybe it was Saturday or Sunday, and they were just atrocious. Yeah, I don't see Switzerland doing much of anything. They've got a few name players, but like for the past 10 years, who's their striker? Where are the goals coming from? Costa Rica, Mark, to answer your question, no, they don't have another quarterfinal run. That was like lightning in a bottle. Right. Everything went right for Costa Rica. They had all their top players were around the right ages, and they had a spirit, unity, and a continuity that they don't have, specifically at the federation level, because one of the men who masterminded and oversaw that great team of 4 years ago is now in prison, or he's on his way to prison. Yikes. As part of the FIFA scandal. So, right. I like to talk about things off the field, how they affect on the field. Costa Rica, congrats for qualifying for the World Cup, but I don't see them getting out of this group. Serbia, I don't know much about, so I'll just say they'll come in second.
You think they're going to finish second?
Yeah.
Wow.
Brazil, Serbia, Switzerland, Costa Rica.
That is interesting. Well, if we're going to go off of the FIFA rankings, Serbia's 34, Costa Rica's 23, Switzerland is 6, like you said, and Brazil is number 2. Take that for what it's worth. I agree, obviously, that Brazil is going to finish atop the group, probably with 9 points. And I do like Costa Rica to advance out of the group. I think it's just my CONCACAF fanhood. I think we're going to be mentioning a lot of CONCACAF, or at least I will be in this part 2 preview. But I kind of took you for your word with Switzerland, Marcus, when you mentioned it last week that they hadn't looked good against Spain.
Oh.
And I haven't.
I mean, there's not looking good, and I never put too much stock in friendlies, but
these are good friendlies.
A week and a half before the World Cup, you can learn certain things about what certain teams are looking like, and Switzerland couldn't string 3 passes together. And I know it was against Spain, but
these teams are playing their starting 11s mostly. I mean, we saw that for a lot of these friendlies. France played probably its best 11 against the United States or close to it.
Yeah.
One thing I'll say about Costa Rica is they do have the Real Madrid goalkeeper Keylor Navas, who I think doesn't receive probably enough credit for Real Madrid's success. He's pretty good, but he's going to have to be really good.
He'll be busy
for them to advance. But if there's a goalie that can maybe steal a few, game or a few saves for his team, he's won.
All right. Well, as long as we're on Brazil, Marcus, you gave us your finals predictions last week. But how far do you think Brazil can make it in the tournament?
Semifinal,
Yeah.
quarterfinal, semifinal, thereabouts. This Brazil team, nothing special. I know they've been playing very well in qualifying, but
They dominated their qualifying.
they did. But, I still look at who's playing big minutes at Champions League, at clubs that are in the knockout rounds of the Champions League. I don't want to say there's not too many of them in Brazil. And that was the case a few years ago, 4 years ago. Brazil, they're at this isn't your dad's Brazil. This is...
Bit of a downturn.
Yeah, but they do have, the one star of stars, which is Neymar, who is not fit.
Right.
Their defense.
Despite him tearing up, Austria and who else did they play? Croatia. Neymar scored a couple nice goals, but, the heat of the World Cup battle is a little different.
Their defense is a little suspect to me. I love Thiago Silva, but other than that, Marcelo is pretty good as well, but I'm not sold on some of these guys. Alisson for Roma is an elite goalkeeper. They have plenty of depth at that position.
I forgot about Alisson.
But
So they've got Alisson, Marcelo, Thiago Silva. All right, they've got some Champions League level players. They do. But who's Brazil's number 10? When's the last time they had a top center midfielder?
Coutinho's going to probably play a lot of that playmaking role, and this is a big stage for him. He has not. If he was at the World Cup last time, I know he definitely didn't play a leading role.
Didn't play, no.
Didn't play,
No.
so first time for him. Williams played in a lot of big club games, so was Casemiro, Fernandinho, but...
All right, I was dead wrong about the Champions League level players. I'll come out and admit that. But
can they do it on this stage, which for Brazil, it's the height of pressure?
yeah.
I'm not sure how not fit Neymar is. That injury was a while ago. And I think PSG also sort of, their season was wrapped up, and what they were playing for was wrapped up with a long time to go. So he's just completely on the shelf, no need to play him, and no pressure from the club whatsoever to be on the field. And he comes out, he played 45 minutes in their first friendly, and he played 84 minutes in their second friendly.
It's encouraging.
I don't know. That's what I would expect him to play if he was fully fit.
He can be fit, but is he sharp?
Right.
We're talking
fair.
about 2 games since late February, early March. When the injury happened, I sort of wrote an analysis where I looked out and I figured he would be sharp by the quarterfinal, semifinal. Conventional wisdom says you need about 10 games to really hit your stride.
Right.
Neymar might have 4 or 5 before the money games come. So
Luckily for them, they kind of have a favorable group.
yeah,
Something that it looks like they should be able to handle.
right.
I don't know. Let's not get too hung up on Brazil, unless there's any final word for you, Nick.
I think quarterfinal has to be the minimum for this team,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I think, like we talked about last time with France, I think they are another high ceiling, low floor team among
Right.
top contenders.
Yeah.
If Neymar has a setback with this injury, or if they just are allowing a lot of goals for some reason, I could see them losing the round of 16, but I could also see them getting to the final.
Right.
It's a pretty big range for this team.
I think Brazil will win the tournament. I think they'll win on European soil, Russian soil, whatever it is. And they're my pick. And I think Neymar is going to have just a massive tournament. I think he's going to be brushing up to about 10 goals possibly by the end of it. I think a lot of them will come in the group stage, but he'll have some really big ones in the knockout stage.
Did you say Neymar is going to score 10 goals in the World Cup?
I said he'll be brushing up against it. So I'm thinking like 8 or 9 goals. That's what I think, Marcus. I don't think it's that bold of a prediction either.
Get a hat trick in one game,
If
you're on
it
your
was
way.
after July 1st, I would understand, but since it's not.
Well, let's move right along. Let's not linger on what I just said. Group F with Germany, Mexico, Sweden, and South Korea. A lot of interest, obviously, in the United States, in Mexico, and they've got
How about that first game?
Yeah, one of the biggest matches of the group stage, Germany versus Mexico on June 17th. Defending World Cup champions, and a very tough test for Mexico.
Yeah. It's too bad for Mexico that this game comes up first because World Cup is momentum is so important, and if you have a loss, and I think Mexico played Germany twice at the Confederations Cup, or maybe once.
Yeah, and
when they played, and it was not, it wasn't a good showing by Mexico at all.
And it wasn't even the A roster of Germany.
Right, right. So if Mexico loses, and loses in a way where they lose face, it could get really bad for Mexico. You know, I think the best they're hoping for is to take a point from this game and then go for 3 points each against South Korea and Sweden. A discouraging loss to Germany will make that all the more difficult. I know that's a lukewarm take, but
for me, I'm really interested to see how Sweden does. I was very impressed with them in the qualifying stages. They were, I think, a little bit unlucky to not automatically qualify. They had some pretty good results in their regular qualifying. They beat France 2-1, and against Italy, they beat Italy 1-0 in the first leg, and they had a scoreless draw in the second leg. So if you're holding Italy to 0 goals, and they're very disciplined, they're tough to break down. Over the last 2 weeks, they've held both Denmark and Peru scoreless.
Oh.
So they're a hard team to score against, and if they get lucky on one of these set pieces or on a counterattack, they could surprise somebody in this group. And I see them finishing second.
I like Sweden as well. I mean, they also held off Netherlands in their World Cup qualifying group, knocking off Italy, and having to do so in Italy for that second leg. I mean, that crowd was ready to go, but they got the job done. That's why I think, while Germany-Mexico is the highlight match, I think Mexico-Sweden on the final day of the group stage,
oh yeah,
that'll be one of the can't-miss matches, I think, of the group stage, because I think both teams will just be fighting for their lives and just kind of relatively on the same level, and just a great matchup to kind of close out the group stage.
I feel bad for Mexico.
Yeah, tough draw.
Not because of the draw, just the last month. It's just been bad news after bad news. Did you guys hear about the party? Oh boy!
What happened?
There you go.
Mexico had a like a Minnesota Viking style party before. I think it was before they left Mexico. You know, after their last game, where there were sex workers involved, and the newspaper got wind of it, and players were named, and one of the players, Hector Herrera, had to go back home from the training camp to deal with a personal issue, which a lot of the press says was to try and smooth things over with his wife. Between that, the multitude of injuries leading up to it, I think they had 6 or 7 guys that were battling injuries on their last 23. I mean, it's just storm clouds brewing all around this team, and it's a shame because they have a lot of talent, and a lot of hard work has gone into making them a cohesive unit, and it just seems like circumstances outside of the game. You guys get the theme? Circumstances outside of the game are threatening to bring the wheels off it, and they have to start against Germany, which
it's tough. Which never has
probably the worst opening. Probably were the worst opening matches we could get. I think Germany's number 1 in the FIFA World Rankings, deservedly the favorite, the defending champs. They couldn't have had a worse first game.
And you do bring it up. You never really hear about off the field issues, it seems like, with the teams that seem to win repeatedly.
Yeah, it's called professionalism.
Yeah.
Mexico has this obsession with reaching the quarterfinal. They've only done it, I think, once or twice, and both times were on home soil. They go out in the round of 16 every single time, and this Mexico team might not make the round of 16. I wouldn't have said that 6 weeks ago, but just looking around, there are injuries and issues. Yeah, things are looking really bad for Mexico on the eve of the World Cup.
And South Korea has been, I think, they're regular at this tournament. They don't have as much talent, but they have plenty of experience at this level, and they certainly won't be phased by any of these teams. I think
we're sort of in agreement that we expect Germany and Sweden to probably go through. I'm not going to say South Korea.
I'm undecided. Yeah,
okay.
But you have Germany winning the group.
I do have Germany winning the group. Yes.
Yeah. What? How far?
That's a given.
What do we like for Germany's chances to defend the World Cup title, win back-to-back?
I think they're
out
pretty
in the
high.
Semifinals.
Out in the semis.
I believe the Germans.
A German tradition.
I believe the Germans have been in the semifinals in every European or Championship or World Cup since 2002, I believe. They lost in the final in 2002, the World Cup. In 06, I believe they lost in the semis to Italy.
Euro 2004, they might not
I'm not sure about Euro 2004. Then in 08, Euros, they lost to Spain in the final.
Yeah.
In the 2010 World Cup,
I think they reached the semifinal.
semis against Spain. I think Puyol had the winning goal there. 2012, they lost in the semis to Italy, the Balotelli game, I believe.
Yep.
And in 2014, they won the World Cup. So
Euro 2016?
I think it was the semis. They beat Italy in the quarters.
okay,
Yeah.
so an impressive run deep into tournaments, and I think Germany. I think their bench could go pretty far in this tournament. I mean, they are just loaded with players.
Well, that's the thing is,
many of them who won't even see the field maybe at all in this tournament.
they won the Confederations Cup with a B+ roster.
Yeah.
And I think maybe people are just tired of talking about Germany, which is why maybe the other picks are being made. But
I think people should talk about that Euro 2016 team a little more. Germany went out to France. You know, Germany was maybe the third or fourth best team in that tournament, which, you know, I've been talking about since 2014, the number of players that retired from that team, the key players that retired after 2014. I don't see these guys that Nick Goss thinks are the best things in sliced bread coming in and stepping into fill the shoes of your Philipp Lahms and your Bastian Schweinsteigers and your Per Mertesackers and Miroslav Klose. You know, these guys are 100+ cap Germany guys with World Cup winners medals, and the ones that are coming behind them, sure, they have hype, but
big shoes to fill.
I don't really see hardly any weaknesses with this team. Emmanuel Neuer and Ter Stegen are two of the best goalies in the world.
Emmanuel Neuer hasn't played a game all season.
Well, then Ter Stegen can step right in. He's pretty solid himself.
He's no Manuel Neuer.
Hummels and Boateng, top 3 center back tandem. Kimmich, one of the best fullbacks in the world. In the midfield, Toni Kroos, Ozil, Khedira, Muller. These are World Cup winners.
I'll give you Kroos, Ozil, Muller.
Champions League winners.
Hummels,
into a beast.
Hummels,
The World Cup, you said it yourself.
Boateng.
Leon Goretzka, don't sleep on him either. You're not a fan? Schalke?
I mean, we're talking. Yeah, you're talking about Schalke. I'm talking about international soccer.
I know, but these are really good players who play really
Who
well
is Leon
together.
Goretzka? Yeah, all right. Like he's going to Bayern, but
Timo Werner, you don't think he can step up on the stage?
he's no Miroslav Klose. Miroslav Klose scored more goals in the World Cup than anybody else.
How many did he score in 2014?
One or two, or three.
Well,
in his
that kind of
career,
Germany, though, to have just somebody else step in.
But
and keep
whoever
the machine
steps
running.
in isn't necessarily at the level of whoever stepped out, and that's
true.
That's the difference between winning the World Cup and not winning it. That's all I'm trying to say.
That's fair. It's the difference between the semifinal and, because you got to be incredible to make the semifinal.
It's very difficult to replace players like Philipp Lahm.
Exactly.
These are elite, all world players.
And they're not just potential. These are guys who are battle tested, and Philipp Lahm lost a lot with Bayern and Germany before they ended up winning.
Well, we've all got Germany going far, just how far we don't know. But Group G has Belgium, Panama, Tunisia, and England. For me, this is like a sputtering balloon group. It's like, I'm not too excited about it.
For me, it's a group with two teams, Belgium and England, that, Belgium, I don't know, is their golden generation still ongoing, Marcus? I mean, that was the thing going into the last
I never
World
thought
Cup.
I was that golden in the first place, but...
But Belgium and England, two teams that have consistently failed to meet expectations on this kind of stage.
Yeah, prone to implosion.
I don't see Belgium and England, I don't see any chance that they don't finish first and second in some order. It could either one, but I don't think they get past the quarterfinals, and I think England especially could get knocked out in the round of 16 if they play the right team. I'm not high on either of those two teams, but I think they'll go through.
It just feels like England, it would make sense for them to just implode here and not advance out of their group. It would just fit in well with England, European soccer, not European soccer, world soccer. And I don't think Panama is all that bad. I think that they could be okay. And they come out of a very tough qualification to get here in the first place.
Are you going gung-ho on CONCACAF?
Maybe. And I mean, I think just if things fall correctly, and if England just loses outright to Belgium, and I don't believe in England. I'm never going to.
The midfielders they brought to the World Cup, as listed on ESPN.com: Eric Dyer, Jordan Henderson, Fabian Delph, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Jesse Lingard, and Dele Alli. That's like the weakest group of midfielders that England has maybe ever sent, when you consider that fairly recently they had Steven Gerrard and Frank Lampard and David Beckham patrolling the midfield, and now it's those guys. I like Dele Alli, but like that group doesn't inspire much in me, Marcus.
No. Is this the part where I'm supposed to bash England?
Maybe.
Let me ask you this, Marcus. Does Harry Kane need to go off in this tournament for England to have any chance?
Yes.
Yeah.
He needs to score 10 goals. Wait, chance at doing what? Not getting
to the
not getting
quarters or semis.
knocked out in the quarterfinals on penalty kicks?
Two in the knockout stages.
England has won. Do you know how many World Cup games England has won since 2006? One.
2010, I think.
One
not a lot.
win. So we need to stop talking about England like they are this power.
Resting lion.
Yeah.
Waiting to wake up.
They went out to Iceland in Euro 2016 in the round of I don't see this England team going far. Tunisia, Panama, to be honest, I don't know much about them. But I do know that both sets of players on these teams are playing, the games of their lives 3 times. These aren't countries that go to the World Cup every time. If you're a Panama player or a Tunisia player, this is your one shot. And if ever there's a time to overachieve, it's now. I'm not saying England or Belgium, a lot would have to go wrong for either of those teams to fail to progress from the group, but
I think maybe we're in agreement again that we think Belgium and England are going to win. We won't be surprised if England doesn't advance out of the group, and then we just expect 0 from them, basically beginning right in the round of 16.
Mm-hmm.
I will say for Belgium, though, they got to show us something here, because they've been touted as either a dark horse or a sexy pick to win one of these tournaments, and I mean they have a pretty good squad. Toby Alderweireld, he's very good. Their defense, I like a lot. Jan Vertonghen, I mean him and Toby are they both play at Tottenham, very good center back combo there. Forwards, Eden Hazard, who on his day can be as good as anyone. Romelu Lukaku, we know what he's all about. Courtois and net, world class. So they have a lot of talent here, and it'll be interesting to see what they do, because they don't have any excuses from that perspective.
You left off the best of the bunch, Kevin De Bruyne.
Kevin De Bruyne, yes.
Yes.
For some reason, I always think he's German. Who am I mixing up with?
I don't know.
He just plays like a German.
He has certain Germanic looking features. If
flags just flip differently.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true, yes.
De Bruyne and Hazard will dictate how far Belgium go. To date, they have not proven that they can play together and really star together. I can't remember the last time Belgium played a knockout round game and both of them were really shining. Usually it's one or the other, and that's the big problem. And then you've got the striker situation, which is Romelu Lukaku. How much do you trust him when it comes to the World Cup knockout rounds? I've been pilloried for downplaying his abilities on this show and others, but where did Manchester United go in the Champions League? Out to Sevilla, round of 16. Yeah, I don't have a lot of faith in this Belgium team. There were some grumbles out of the camp about the tactics of head coach Roberto Martinez, and Belgium has imploded in the past, where not to the levels of France 2010, but there's this tradition in the Low Countries, in Belgium and Holland, of players talking back to coaches, and that can hurt a team.
In the Euros, they lost 3-1 to Wales in the quarterfinals, and in the last World Cup, they lost 1-0 to Argentina.
Ah, yes.
But
Argentina
needed extra time to beat the United States.
On another day, they would have won by 8 that game. But yes, people have been talking about Belgium as a favorite to win a major tournament for the last 4 to 6 years. Haven't seen it. They got a lot of guys playing for Tottenham. They've got, I'd say, 2 world-class players, Hazard and De Bruyne. Those two haven't shown that they can really gel together. Yeah, good luck to Belgium. Quarterfinals, no more, no less.
So Group G is G for gross. We talked about dark horses. I think Group H has a real dark horse in Colombia, and I'll get to why in a moment. But
I have a different dark horse in this group.
Colombia, Senegal, Poland, and Japan. I think a lot tougher group than people are going to give it credit for, just based on...
Who's your dark horse? Your different dark horse?
You'll see in a second.
just based on...
I too have a dark horse.
Oh, wow. All right. Fantastic.
All right. So we've got dark horses.
I think the biggest names in this group are Robert Lewandowski and James Rodriguez from Colombia. But, all right, who wants to go first? Who wants to give their dark horse?
Well, mine's Senegal.
Ah!
Is that yours, Marcus?
That was mine too.
Oh, okay.
You know, they have some players who are playing in Europe. I think headlined, obviously, by Sadio Mane, who had 10 goals and 11 Champions League appearances for Liverpool this year, including one in the final. He obviously needs to play well for this team to go through, but I think they have, other than Colombia, I don't see a team that has a real talent advantage over any of the other ones. And I think if Senegal can find a clutch goal in one or two of these games, I think they could really finish second or even challenge Colombia for the top spot in the group. So I'm really interested to see how Senegal does, because I think Mane and some of their other players are primed for a breakout here.
Yeah, what Nick said. I think I see balance in that team. Defensively, they've got a player who I had to look up his name so I don't butcher it, Kalidou Koulibaly, who marshaled Napoli's back line to second place finish. A good challenge for Juventus in in Serie A. Of course, Mane, who is capable on his day of just tearing into any defense. And yeah, I think Senegal will have a certain unity and esprit de corps that will make them the best performing African team at this World Cup.
I am really high with you guys on Senegal. They aren't my dark horse, though, but I'm looking now. They have, it looks like 7 Premier League players and then another few European players, as you just mentioned, Marcus. A lot of European experience, which kind of
helps.
Eliminates, any sort of fear of the big stage. But my dark horse, and maybe it's not such a dark horse, but Colombia, I think, has the potential to reach the semifinal. And I kind of go back to their 2014 quarterfinal loss to Brazil. They were in Brazil. They lost the game 2-1. And I just remember watching and having Colombia's journey to that point in that tournament. They had really been playing extremely well.
Yeah.
And I think it was the worst game of the tournament for them was against Brazil. And we've talked about this game before.
They had more fun at Brazil 2014 than any other team, I think. You could see the real joy that they had, the joy and togetherness that they played with, and they danced with after goals. It was great. The whole world loved it. That game against Brazil had to be one of the 5 most brutal games I've ever seen.
Dirty.
40-something fouls in between the teams, 1 broken back for Neymar, and it's kind of like in World Cup 2010, where where the Netherlands played very well and stylish, and then once they got to the final, they just shifted to prison rules, which still to this day nobody really knows why they did it. Colombia did the same thing, and yeah, they kept it close against Brazil, but
I just wonder how much there was a feeling of we're playing Brazil, we're in Brazil, they're Brazil, we're Colombia, we aren't as good, and that's the end of the day, that's the fact. When in reality, I think that they probably were more talented, and like you said, just kind of the game didn't go the way that it should go for them if they're going to win. But
no, they're certainly the most talented team in this group.
But now they face the expectations that they did not face probably in the last tournament.
That is true.
I'm not sure they do, though.
I think from this group they'll be expected to finish first. For
sure, they'll finish first in the group, but like even in the group stage, I think by the time you're at the round of 16, or if they do advance to the quarterfinal, they won't be favored in a quarterfinal matchup, I think, pretty much against anybody. I mean, expecting the certain teams that'll be there. And that's why I kind of am expecting them to be there and pull what a lot of people are saying will be an upset that I think will be what should happen. And Colombia reaches the semifinal where I think they'll probably lose to like Brazil again.
Poland's an interesting team. They lost to Portugal in penalty kicks at the Euros and then just lost only 1 game in the qualifying of the 10 they played to get to this tournament. Lewandowski is one of the better strikers on his day. He can score against anyone.
No, the better is top 2 or 3 striker.
I mean, he's unbelievable. 89 league goals the last 3 seasons for Bayern Munich. So it'll be interesting. Yeah, I mean, they're coming with a lot of expectations too, and it'll be interesting to see. I think it's not the group of death, but I think this might be the most competitive group because Japan's made 5. This is their 5th straight World Cup. You know, they've got some players who've played on the stage for a long time. So this might be the most competitive World Cup, and it might be the most fun to watch from that perspective when you think about it.
Yeah, certainly the most open group.
Other than Colombia finishing 4th, I could see any of these teams really placing anywhere.
This group is going to swing back and forth until the very end, and I wouldn't be surprised if somebody scores in the 85th minute or beyond to flip results late.
It's going to be so exciting.
Yeah.
I've said that I think Colombia could reach the semifinal. What do you think is the best possible finish for these teams, for any team in this group?
Poland, Japan, round of 16, Colombia, quarterfinal, Senegal, quarterfinal, because I just made them a dark horse and want to stick with it.
I think any team, I think that Poland or Senegal or Colombia could get to the quarterfinal. I don't see Japan doing that, but I don't think any of them will get farther than that.
All right, well, I can't wait until Colombia makes the semis, guys. It's going to be fun.
Should we make our full predictions now?
Well, sure. I think we've sort of said it to this point, or at least Marcus and I have picked our winners. Have you picked your winner?
I mean, I guess it depends on, from what I've seen so far on who plays who. Like, if France wins their group, they will be on the opposite side of Germany if Germany wins their group. And I have France beating Germany in the final. France
beating Germany in the final. Way to stick to your fanhoods there.
I honestly think they're the 2 best teams. Wouldn't be surprised if either one won. I mean, France lost to Germany 1-0 in the quarterfinals in the last World Cup. They beat them in Euros. Should have won the Euros, France, on home soil, especially when Ronaldo got injured. And Germany, as we've said, they could field.
Why didn't they win the Euros?
France?
Yeah.
Ronaldo was out.
Yeah, they just couldn't score.
Mm-hmm. And who wasn't in that
team?
team?
Maybe got to them. Karim Benzema.
And who's not in their team now?
I think it's Karim Benzema. I really just, I think who they have, Mbappe, Griezmann, should be enough to score. If you can't score with those 2 guys, plus they have midfielders that can go forward, and winners like Neymar and other players like that. You're not high on France.
You love Thomas Lemar.
I do. I think he's very good. And he plays very well for France. He plays probably better for France than he does Monaco. So yeah, France over Germany for me.
Marcus, you still high on Argentina versus Portugal final?
Oh, yeah. Messi versus Ronaldo. It's for the dreamers,
Written
Mark.
in the stars.
It's for the romantics and the dreamers. Who else has been dominating the world for the last 10 years?
But on the world stage, they haven't really.
We talked about Argentina failing in the Copa America and.
Yeah, I mean
they're
right there. They're banging on the door.
That's kind of what I think is going to take place. I think it's going to be Argentina versus Brazil in the final. I think it'll be another heartbreak for Messi, and he'll unfortunately, I think, be involved. He'll miss something. He'll not make a clear pass. He'll make his one mistake of the whole month of play. I just think it's been too long since Brazil has won the World Cup. It was 2002.
Yeah,
it's a cycle of life, and Brazil wins every once in a while.
Yeah, well, they went from 1970 to 1994. It's 24 years.
All right, well, maybe I'm 4 years early, but I'm sticking with Brazil.
Nick, you're 4 years early with France.
Really, you think so?
Oh yeah, World Cup 2022, France's. World Cup 2018, too soon.
So when Zidane is managing in 2022, you like
that's the key. You need Zidane. If you're going to win the World Cup, you need Zidane. I think we did okay. I think we did a good job. I like our predictions and our flow here.
I think we gave the listeners some dark horse teams in pretty much every group that we like. That if they want to wager on some of these games, that they could take a look at.
We will be continuing our podcasting throughout the tournament. We haven't picked our next date yet, but the tournament isn't for a few days, and
it'll be soon.
It'll be soon. We're going to try and get in here as much as possible throughout the tournament. We've got plenty of other coverage going on. Real quick, though, World Cup bid. USA, Mexico, Canada, or Morocco? What do you think they're going to pick?
USA, Mexico, Canada.
I think so, too.
Yeah, I mean, Morocco would probably have to build all these stadiums, right?
Well, that was the one thing
that
worried me, is I saw an article that I don't even know who it was from, that was there's more money to be made by maybe people that shouldn't be making money if it's in Morocco because of everything that needs to be built, all the infrastructure and all of the business that would entail, and if you do it in...
Who shouldn't make the money?
Well, it just
everyday Moroccans.
Well, are they going to be making the money here? Or?
No, like that's the thing is it
or
wouldn't be
Moroccan elites.
something like that.
Yeah.
And that it was just like this is the only reason that the bid wouldn't go to North America was basically the theme of the article, and it kind of scared me. But I think we're going to be okay. I think we're going to get it. But yeah. So anyway,
well, it'd be great to get some World Cup games at Gillette Stadium.
Yeah, they're on the bidding. That announcement will come down on Wednesday the 13th, and I'm sure we'll have a quick mention about it in our next podcast, whichever way it goes. But keep track of all of our podcasts throughout the World Cup on iTunes by searching NESN. We also will be rolling out our World Cup show called World Cup Now. That will be premiering on Tuesday, the 12th, and we'll just be on top of all matches, everything going on, written content on nesn.com/World Cup, where you can find Nick and Marcus's fantastic writing, and even more beyond that. Just we're attacking it from every angle possible, all of our manpower possible, and we're pretty pumped about the World Cup. I know I am, and just need to roll the ball out there at this point.
I think we've reached the stage where the waiting has become really frustrating because you're so close, just a few days away.
Seeing all the tweets of everybody arriving, and it just everybody's already having fun. The party's underway. Just a match hasn't been played yet.
Yeah.
But all right.
And we're not there.
But enough chitter chatter. Thanks for joining us. iTunes/NESN, and we'll see you next time.